Ryan Wheatley has an axe to grind. For 6 months, he's been living with his girlfriend at Ferry Vista Apartments in West Palm Beach, where they proudly displayed Old Glory on their balcony.
My dad was in the Army and my grandfather fought for this country, and I've lost a lot of really close friends for that flag right there.
His passion for the Stars and Stripes took him to the front office after the management company nearly brought him to tears. The flag is in violation of the rental agreement, which clearly states all balconies must be uniform. Therefore, it must come down.
They said that the consequences are if we don't take it down within so many days, I forget what it was, that they're going to fine us first. And after they fine us, if we don't take it down after that, they're going to give us a 6-day eviction notice.
The story seemed like a closed case until we opened the door to the office of Mark Schneider, president of the Palm Beach County chapter of the ACLU.
Florida statute says that even renters should be able to display a flag that's less than 4.5 feet by 6 feet on their rental units.
He dug into state laws, which in this case may override that rental agreement. Furthermore, Schneider says he's not aware that balconies could restrict it either.
Me and her both are going to fight this.
Wheatley's pride is on the line, and he intends to stand with his conscience in hopes of raising a larger discussion.
This is unjust, and it's happening all over the United States, where you can't fly a flag because you're offending somebody.
And WikiLeaks says the U.S. Secretary of State put pressure on Ecuador to, quote, heavily restrict Julian Assange's internet access. He's been holed up, of course, in Ecuador's London embassy for more than 4 years. Assange has all but been taken offline after the whistleblower made a public batch of emails from Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman, John Podesta, public.
In the email posted on WikiLeaks, Podesta and Karen Finney, a campaign spokeswoman, emailed each other about the San Bernardino terrorist who had just been identified. Podesta wasn't too happy. The terrorist had been identified as Muslim. This is his exact words. Quote, better if a guy named Saeed Farouk was reporting that a guy named Christopher Hayes was the shooter. Okay? One of the highest ranking members of the Clinton campaign openly expressed his disappointment that a white male wasn't behind the terrorist attack in San Bernardino. You know why? Because they would twist it. It's a crazy Trump supporter. That's what they'd say. It's a crazy redneck, crazy conservative.
Well, on the character issue, the public, 2/3 or more of the public knows that Hillary Clinton's a liar. She can't be trusted. And now the two faces of Hillary Clinton are coming out. The fact through WikiLeaks that she says one thing and...
Oh, no. All right, let's see if we can get Congressman Collins back. Obviously, we just lost the satellite feed. That sucks. Congressman Collins, you are back. I have been doing a better job than I've ever heard you do going after Hakeem Jeffries about how emails are not a mistake. They were an intentional choice and series of choices by Clinton. But please, play to advantage and make the case that you think Trump has to make tonight.
The presidential election just weeks away, an explosive new video from conservative activist James O'Keefe suggests the violent protests at Trump's rallies may have been started by Democratic operatives. This newly released undercover video from Project Veritas Action shows Dem staffers bragging about hiring people to incite violence at Trump's rallies. Now, Robert Creamer, who is the husband of Illinois Congresswoman Jan Truskowski, says he's resigning after the edited video was released. Creamer was helping the DNC with Clinton's campaign, working for Democracy Partners. National Field Director Scott Vogel, who worked for Americans United for Change and was contracted by Democracy Partners, was also recorded on the video. He was quoted as saying, "The key is initiating the conflict by having leading conversations with people who are naturally psychotic." Going on to say, quote, "I mean, honestly, it's not hard to get some of these people to pop off." Vogel was fired shortly after the tape's release. The DNC has since distanced itself from the accusations, claiming O'Keefe is, quote, "a convicted criminal with a history of doctoring video to advance its ideological agenda." No comment yet from the Clinton or Trump campaigns.
Prime Minister Netanyahu told Amona residents in informal discussions that President Obama intends to harm Judean and Samaritan communities before he leaves the White House, according to a Channel 2 report tonight. According to the report, Netanyahu said there is a real threat of unilateral steps being taken by the president against the Judean and Samaritan communities during the short period left before he leaves the White House. Pressman claimed that the extreme left-wing organizations who appeared at the Security Council's unofficial meeting expressed their professional viewpoint and added that their words must be taken as the truth, as we know from many other unaffiliated organizations which describe difficult situations occurring around the world.
Police in the Philippines used a van to disperse protesters at an anti-US rally in Manila. And just a warning, some viewers may find the following pictures distressing. Well, the vehicle is seen to reverse into protesters, it then continues to drive forward, striking protesters, knocking them to the ground again, as you can see. The leader of Wednesday's demonstration say that at least 3 activists have been taken to hospital. Police have arrested several protesters after they threw red paint at the entrance to the American embassy.
Anti-American protests turned violent, demanding an end to the presence of US troops in the country. Around 1,000 activists gathered to support President Duterte's distancing from American influence. Since Duterte took power over 3 months ago, relations between Manila and Washington have cooled. The Filipino president has spent months bad-mouthing US foreign policy and criticisms of his hardline stance on drugs, suspending joint patrols in the South China Sea and threatening to end all military cooperation, while simultaneously welcoming renewed ties with China. Marking a reversal of foreign policy in the region, Duterte has reached out to Beijing, calling his state visit to China this week a defining moment. The Filipino president is set to meet with Xi Jinping this Thursday for talks that will be closely scrutinized. If Duterte continues to pursue a shift away from Washington and towards Beijing, it could have a major impact on regional power dynamics.
A gunman wearing Afghan military uniform has killed 2 Americans, including a soldier, at a base in the capital, Kabul. U.S. officials have confirmed that another soldier and 2 civilians were injured in the shooting. The shooter was also killed. According to the U.S. military command in Kabul, the service members were conducting their duties within NATO's so-called Resolute Support Mission in Afghanistan. NATO says it is investigating the incidents. The Resolute Support Mission in the country began in 2015 with the aim of training Afghan forces in counter-terrorism operations. It replaced NATO's combat mission in the country, which ended last December. Afghanistan faces a security challenge years after the U.S. and its allies invaded the country in 2001 as part of Washington's so-called war on terror.
Day 3 of the Mosul assault and fierce resistance continues. But US-backed Iraqi government forces and Kurdish Peshmerga fighters are slowly but surely closing in on ISIL's last city stronghold in Iraq. Reports say dozens of jihadists have been killed and their car bombs destroyed as the advance pushes ahead. But this will be a long campaign, and while outlying territory is being liberated, it could be weeks or months before Mosul itself is free from the jihadists' grip. The push into the city itself is expected to be the biggest battle in Iraq since the 2003 US-led invasion. We'll hold these areas until we reach the outskirts of the city, says this Peshmerga officer whose forces have captured a cluster of nearby towns and villages. This is the start of operations to liberate Mosul. Our morale is high. We were able to repel Daesh when they were strong, and now they're very weak. The so-called Islamic State, also known as Daesh, has released this video purporting to show its fighters on the city's streets, one of them warning the US there'll be no victory in Iraq, saying, quote, "You leave once more humiliated and disgusting in defeat." Some of ISIL's best fighters are thought to be still in Mosul.
حقيقة احنا يوميا ما بين 100 إلى 150 عائلة يجونا على مخيم ديبقة. كعدد متوسط هذول العوائل بين 600 إلى 700 شخص يوميا تقريبا.
Police in the Czech Republic have released footage of a Russian man's arrest in connection with hacking attacks on targets in the United States. They say the operation at a hotel in Prague was carried out in cooperation with the FBI. The suspect said to have collapsed, requiring a brief stay in hospital. Washington claims Russia is behind hacking that's hit the Democratic Party ahead of next month's presidential election. There's no indication this arrest was linked to those attacks.
Major deployment of naval forces are preparing off the coast of Norway, likely to reinforce a continued campaign in the besieged Syrian city of Aleppo. A senior NATO diplomat added the Russian warships are loaded with fighter bombers. Citing Western intelligence gathering, the diplomat stated that Northern and Baltic Russian fleets are deploying in the largest maneuver since the end of the Cold War. They added the buildup of forces is not a friendly port call. The diplomat expects the ships to arrive in 2 weeks, leading to intensified airstrikes in Aleppo in support of the Syrian army.
One of the Navy's most advanced warships is ready to take the seas. After years of work and testing, the USS Detroit Littoral Combat Ship will be placed on active duty.
The LCS, being the fastest ship in the Navy, the most agile ship in the Navy, one of the most capable ships in the Navy, there's really nothing else like it.
It's designed to maneuver shallow waters near the shore with agility and speed, but it's also capable of operating in the open seas, and its modular design makes it easy to modify for different missions. The USS Detroit can travel at a top speed of 47 knots and carry up to 50 core crew members.
14 unaccompanied minors have been arriving here in the UK this week from the jungle camp in Calais, which is being demolished. Now, on arrival in Croydon, they were greeted by British media, some of which have been raising questions over the age of some of these children. Now, under EU legislation, minors can come to the UK if they are under 18 years of age and if they have family here. But many of these migrants don't have documents to actually prove their age. And so the Home Office is basically looking at their appearance as well as their demeanour to determine how old they are. But here lies the problem. After seeing these pictures and after visiting the jungle camp in Calais himself, Member of Parliament David Davies says these children should actually undergo mandatory dental tests as well as bone density tests, he says. He says they should be undergoing this so they can check their age because he believes they don't look like they are children. But the British Dental Association is vigorously opposing this as an actual assessment, and in a statement to CNN has said the following: it's not only an inaccurate method for assessing age, but it is both inappropriate and unethical, it says. As you can imagine, the reaction to using dental assessment has prompted widespread outrage on social media, with some saying it's both callous, heartless and actually vilifying migrants. But the row is intensifying. The Home Office has today revealed that in 2015, nearly 2/3 of child refugees quizzed about their real age were deemed to be adults.
A group of about 40 migrants have ended a protest at a detention centre in Madrid after spending the night on the roof. The migrants, said to be of Moroccan and Algerian origin, are angry at plans by the authorities to deport several of them. There's been criticism of poor sanitary conditions at Spain's immigration detention centres generally. This city council official agrees this detention centre is a failed experiment, he says, as the mayor of Madrid said some months ago. These people are being denied their freedom because of an administrative issue. I don't think that's fair. Right now, the important thing is the health and safety of those who are in there. The protest ended after negotiations with officials from the Spanish government and the city council. The facilities are meant for migrants who arrive in Spain without a residence permit, who don't meet the conditions to seek asylum and then face deportation.
We now have an idea of just how big this sinkhole is and what it's going to take to fix it. This hole at Mosaic opened up in August, but the public didn't really know about it until 8 on Your Side broke the story.
That's right. Good evening. Here's a look right now at the sinkhole from Eagle 8 HD. You can see it is massive. The area around it is not stable. So, as you can imagine, getting these measurements has been a tough task.
This is Eagle 8 HD video as Mosaic crews drop specialized LiDAR equipment into the massive sinkhole.
We know there's some potentially unstable ground next to the gyp stack. So what we did is we took a cable and we strung it out across the hole attached to two bulldozer-type machines.
Drone footage provided by Mosaic shows the custom-built device being lowered into the hole. Using a pulse laser, they mapped it in 3D to figure out how big it is.
We're told the sinkhole is about 220 feet deep from the top of the gyp stack, the widest spot measuring about 152 feet across.
As for the overall depth, the company is still trying to figure that out. Only then can they start fixing it.
Once we define what's underneath it and in the confining zone, then we'll know where to pump the concrete type material.
The sinkhole opened up at the end of August, sending more than 200 million gallons of radioactive waste into the aquifer. As of October, 763 wells have been tested. 10 of those wells came back with elevated levels of radioactivity.
A sewage system has been contaminated with toxic firefighting chemicals, and an Air Force base is to blame. U.S. Air Force officials confirm more than 150,000 gallons of water tainted with perfluorinated chemicals, otherwise known as PFCs, leaked out of a retention tank at Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado Springs, Colorado. The contaminated water made its way into a city wastewater treatment plant before crews could stop it, and from there, it flowed into a creek that feeds into other waterways. PFCs are typically used at military airfields to put out fuel fires. The chemicals have been linked to cancer, low birth weights, and other serious health problems. While officials say the leak didn't pose a threat to Colorado Springs drinking water, some residents are worried about the possible health risks. This is far from the first toxic chemical leak at an Air Force base. According to a study out earlier this year, unsafe levels of toxic chemicals have been found in drinking water samples near military fire training sites and airports in 33 states. It's unclear what caused this latest leak, but officials aren't ruling out the possibility that it was intentional.
Peru is investigating the mysterious deaths of 10,000 endangered frogs that washed up along the shores of Lake Titicaca and one of its main streams over the weekend. Authorities went into action on Monday when activists brought 100 frog carcasses into the main square of Puno, the largest town on Lake Titicaca. The dead frogs belong to the giant Titicaca frog species and are being investigated by scientists who have concluded that up to 10,000 frogs could have perished over the weekend from mysterious causes. The cause of their deaths is unknown, but previous studies have warned that water quality is getting worse due to pollution from illegal mining and sewage runoffs.